Hello everyone, this is Nitpicking Nerd, and today I want to talk about the movie The Long Kiss Goodnight 1996, which I just watched, and I think it's a fun 90s action movie with a lot of comedy stuff, a lot of it intentional comedy, some of it, and there's a lot of good actors in this movie. Samuel Jackson is great as always, and I personally really like Gina Davis, who I think is underrated. I think she's always fun in, the female action hero roles that she plays, even in that movie with the pirates called Cutthroat Island. And in this movie specifically, she plays almost like a double role because she plays a woman who lost her memory and became kind of like a different character. And later, when she remembers her previous self, she's a totally different person, much more kind of nasty person. And I think she played it well as an actress. And so I think the acting was good in this movie and the story was really good, and I even feel as if this movie maybe inspired some of more famous movies which came out later, such as Kill Bill, which had a similar element. In that movie she used to be an assassin who got shot in the head and fell into a coma, and she was pregnant at the time. And in this movie also she was an assassin who was pregnant, who got shot in the head and lost her memory. She wasn't in a coma, but she did lose her memory and start a new life as a new person, and she raised a daughter. And so we have a lot of similar elements to Kill Bill, and also some similar elements to X-Men 2, and even involving some of the same actors, namely Brian Cox, who in both movies played kind of a boss of secret agents who end up losing their memory and starting a new life and then searching for him. So that's the exact same story like in X-Men 2, when Wolverine was searching for him only to find out he used to work for him as an assassin. And we have the same actor playing a very similar role in this movie, of him being the operator of Gina Davis's character until she lost her memories and disappeared. And so I feel as if this movie inspired a lot of other movies which came later, and a lot of the action scenes in this movie was kind of very over the top, very ridiculous, in a fun way, meaning I enjoyed them, even though a lot of stuff doesn't follow the rules of physics. There's a scene when someone throws a grenade at them, and then they run away from the grenade, and then the grenade explodes, not in a normal explosion like grenades do, but in some sort of giant fireball that chases them through corridors endlessly, like it's a flamethrower, not a grenade exploding. And so all kinds of ridiculous stuff like that, kind of over the top action stuff, but it was done in a fun way, meaning it was almost comedic. It was fun, like an unintentional comedy at places. Maybe it was intentional. I think it's the same director who made Cutthroat Island, which also had a lot of over-the-top ridiculous action scenes with big explosions, but it's fun, so it's visually entertaining. The actors were good, the story was interesting enough. I wouldn't say it's a great brilliant story, but it did have a lot of interesting elements, and I personally think this movie would have worked even better if they did it even more over the top. If they made it even more comedic and more ridiculous, maybe it would have been even better, because there's a lot of moments like that in which the movie almost turns into complete comedy. This movie does follow the usual formula in a lot of ways, and that's kind of fun by itself. There's a scene when the villain explains to her the whole evil plan and then leaves her in an easily escapable death trap, which of course she escapes in the end. And so all those kinds of James Bond stuff and all of that. So it's kind of funny in a good way, I would say, even though it makes the villains look stupid maybe, but it's kind of fun, and so I can forgive that. And as for the evil plan of the villains, I think the conspiracy theories will love some of those scenes, because they talk about staging a terrorist act and blaming the Muslims for it, and they have a frozen Arab guy in the fridge who they plan to frame for a terrorist bombing, all in order to get funding for their CIA operations and all of that. So I think the conspiracy theorists would love all of that. And the World Trade Center is mentioned by name in that scene, even though they were talking about the previous bombing, the one in 93 and not the one in 2001. Obviously this movie came out before that, but I'm sure some of the conspiracy theorists will jump on this and say, oh, this proves that this movie knew what's going to happen. I don't think that's the case, by the way, but it does make all of those scenes kind of more interesting, and it kind of aged in a strange way, I would say. When watching this movie from the post-2001 perspective, it makes it kind of weird, but villains in this movie were not particularly memorable, but they were kind of not bad. They were not terrible villains, meaning they are interesting to watch, and they even added some interesting interpersonal drama toward the end, and I kind of wish they would have gone deeper into that, because they have that kind of surprise twist in the end, of some family relationships between some characters, and so I thought they should have done more with it, because they kind of mention it, it's kind of an interesting scene for 1 minute, and then they totally forget about that. So that's kind of an example of the many missed opportunities they had in this movie, because I think this movie could have been a lot better if they didn't miss all of those opportunities that they did have, that they did kind of set up and then kind of forgot about. So overall, I think this movie deserves respect in my opinion, especially since it inspired so many other great movies, and I mentioned Kill Bill, X-Men 2, and a lot of movies like that which I love, and so therefore this movie is very noteworthy for possibly providing inspirations for so many other good movies. And this one by itself is also pretty enjoyable. It's not perfect, but it's pretty solid movie, I would say, so I do recommend it for people who like silly action movies from the 90s. And some parts of this movie also remind me of True Lies, but True Lies came before this movie, so it could not have been inspired by it, maybe the other way around. But there are some similar stuff, and the plot in this movie also reminds me of the movie Total Recall, which was also about a secret agent who forgot his identity and all of that, so there are some similar elements to that as well, but that also came out before. And there were a lot of other movies with that kind of an idea, so it's kind of a classic idea, and this movie follows a lot of the classic formulas of the way that an action movie should be done. There's a comedic sidekick, there's some drama with kids, and there's some despicable villains who want to do really bad things, and so you're really rooting for the hero. And there's the infamous classic mistake of the villain, who always reveals the full evil plan to the hero right before leaving the hero in an easily escapable death trap and just assuming it worked and just walks away, and then the hero escapes somehow. So that also happens here. So all kinds of silly stuff like that, but it kind of works. It's kind of part of the fun of watching these kinds of movies that are often very predictable, but in some ways it makes it funny. It makes it kind of a comedy, even when it might not have been intended to be. So overall, I think it's a fun, noteworthy movie, so I do kind of recommend it. I'm not saying it's a great movie, it could have been better, but it's still kind of fun. So that's my thoughts about it. Let me know what you think and we can discuss it in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, share, click the notification bell to see updates of new videos, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.